Hello, everyone. Good morning, conscious family. Happy Easter Sunday. Today is a very special day. It's a day that we are invited to reflect on our brother Jesus, okay, and the invitation for growth and transformation. So, to begin our day, I will start by reading a passage from Emmanuel from the book Living Spring. And it's a beautiful message. It's one of my favorites. And it's titled The Message of the Cross. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are saved, it is the power of God. Paul. The message of the cross has always been dolorous. A voice that was at first disagreeable and incomprehensible descended from Calvary to the world. The Master's martyrdom held all the arguments for a superficially complete denial of it. Complete abandonment by the ones he loved the most. Dreadful thirst. Irreversible surrender. Spontaneous forgiveness that expressed total humiliation. Sarcasm and ridicule between two thieves. Defeat with having put up a fight. An infamous death. However, Christ uses this apparent failure to teach the way of eternal resurrection, showing that the self can never approach God without moral growth and purification. Even today, the message of the cross is foolishness to those who remain forever in the circles of reincarnation of low level spiritually. Such persons intend to do nothing but conspire with death, exterminating the loveliest blossoms of the sentiments. They control many, but are incapable of self-control. They accumulate wealth that foolishness has thrown away, and they weave dark threads of stubborn passions into which they fall without realizing it, just like a spider caught in its own web. If we repeat the message of the cross to our brothers and sisters who are drowning in the flesh, they will call us insane. But all of us who, due to the warnings of a renewing faith, have been saved from worse falls, are told that during the bitterest trials, the disciple goes to the Master, just as the Master went to the Father in the hidden glory of the crucifixion. So I'd like to invite, still reflecting on this beautiful message, I'd like to invite everyone to close our eyes, and we can actually be thankful and very grateful to God and to our brother, our guide, our light, Jesus. Thankful for being here in this day where we can actually have the opportunity to reflect on the meaning of Easter, on the meaning of what we know for sure, that life is immortal. And there's always a chance for us to be renewed, for us to be transformed in this meaning of transformation, to be born, die, and born again. We thank you, Jesus. We thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. We thank you for this beautiful day. And we ask you that our speaker, Susanna, be inspired and able to convey the message and her reflections on this celebration and how it's tied up to this beautiful opportunity we have to evolve and by transforming ourselves. That her spirits, the guides, follow her and inspire her throughout this lecture today. And so be it. So I'd like to invite Susana Simões, our lecturer for the day. Welcome, Susana.
Hi, Claudinha. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to get started right now. Give me just 1 second. I want to say good morning to everyone first. I see that Vivi is here. Juan, good morning. Good morning, everyone. So today, happy Easter to everyone. I love the message that Claudinha just read. Is actually one of my favorite messages on Living Spring. And I will start today by highlighting a sentence from this message when Emmanuel says, Christ uses this apparent failure to teach the way to eternal resurrection, showing that the self can never approach God without moral growth and purification. So when we think about Easter and we seek to extract what are the teachings, what are the messages that are found in this important event for Christianity, I would say there are many, and we don't really intend to cover all the meanings and all the messages that are found in this very significant event. But we can say that for sure we are looking at a spiritual victory in face of what seems to be the material defeat. So, for the eyes of the world, Christ was defeated. Materially speaking, he had lost the battle. He was powerless while on the cross. And he comes back. He comes back to speak to us and to leave us a message of spiritual victory, of immortality. And he comes back in all his magnificence and light, and we can say more alive than ever. So the message of immortality is a powerful message that um, Christ leaves us through this whole event of his crucifixion and death. But Emmanuel also highlights for us here something else when he says that the path to God is one of moral growth and purification. The Spiritus author, Humberto de Campos, when he analyzes the event of Christ's crucifixion and death, he tells us that in that particular moment, Christ was his position as a master wasn't the primary role that he was playing. His primary role throughout the whole process of the crucifixion was of a son who was being obedient, a son who was fulfilling his father's will, and a son who demonstrated his profound and deep connection, his profound and deep love towards his father, but also towards each one of us, towards humanity. So Christ's entire life is an act of love. From the moment that he's born among us to the moment that he leaves us, from the physical aspect, every single thing that he did, every single word, every single action was an act of love, love towards God and love towards us. So when I think about the message of Easter, I also like to think that is a message of love. It's a message of connection. It's a message of relating. And when we study spiritism, we will learn, we will see that the actual path to God, it is through relating. So Emmanuel has a sentence in one of his books where he says, "You are the desire to God, but your neighbor is the bridge." So when we think about the Christian holidays, whether we are talking about Easter or we are talking about Christmas, for example, the whole point is that we take the time to acknowledge the importance of these events, that we celebrate these events, but that from that point on, we are touched and we are inspired to take all the lessons that come from these particular events into our daily lives. So when we think of Easter and we think of Christ's relation to God, his act of love, he did that. He went through all of that to teach us the pathway to God, the pathway for enlightenment through connection, through obedience, obedience in the sense of like really, really understanding what God is and being able to manifest the God within himself and express his incredible love to all of us by coming and teaching us that we are so much more than the physical body. So the idea is that we take these lessons to our daily lives and we apply them so that every single day of our lives is embedded with a sense of immortality, with the willingness to move towards God, with the willingness to work on our relationships, understanding that in us it is the desire for connection, but in our neighbor is the bridge that will lead us to God. So when I put this lecture together, it was not meant to be a lecture for Easter. In fact, I was scheduled to speak on this day many, many months ago, and and I had no idea that actually was Easter. And so it wasn't until like recently, this week or maybe a few days ago, that I realized that I was actually speaking on Easter Sunday. So I was like, oh man! But then as I reviewed the content, and I realized there was actually very appropriate content for today. So what is the lecture about and how did it come about? What was the story behind the lecture? So the lecture happened because I want to say about 5, 6 months ago, I was faced with a very, very difficult relational challenge in my life. And from this experience, I had a number of feelings that were very, very difficult for me to bear. I'm someone who works a lot with images. As I write, as I feel, as I think, images comes to my mind. So I found myself standing in front of this unsurmountable mountain, extremely steep, and the rock was it didn't have like any places for me to actually put my hands and hold on to start climbing. So it felt like um, an absolutely impossible task that I was facing to overcome the feelings and the difficulties that I experience as I face that relational challenge. So I want to convey this image and this idea to you so that you have a sense of the size of the challenge that I found myself in. So Brene Brown has a show that's actually right now happening on HBO Max called Atlas of the Heart that relates to a book that she just launched. And she opens the show with a question, which is how do we build meaningful relationships with others and with the self? And she starts by saying that she used to address these question in the past as two separate questions. How do you build meaningful relationships with others, and how do you build meaningful relationships with yourself? But nowadays she understands that this is really one question and one thing. And I hope that by the end of the lecture I can show you that this is not only a nice philosophical idea, but it's actually true. In other words, our relating to others is absolutely correlates and speaks to the ways in which we treat and deal with our own selves. So the first step that I took as I decided to seek for a solution for this particular challenge was to take responsibility over the process. And that is crucial. That is absolutely imperative. If you want to solve anything, you need to take responsibility over the process. And when I talk about responsibility, there are a few aspects that are important. Openness. Openness to what is, openness to different ideas. We don't know everything. There is always things that can be learned. There's always new resources. There are certainly many different pathways that one can um, undertake to find solution for certain problems. So openness, flexibility. But another important thing with responsibility is courage. Courage, you have to be moved by the heart. Courage comes from core, comes from heart. And you have to be extremely courageous because the path to solve relational issues goes through within. And as we'll see, that can be at times difficult, painful, rough. So you have to be courageous to be able to undergo this path. But also, responsibility calls for acceptance of the process, willingness to assign different new meanings for past events, and what I think is one of the most important aspects for any process of healing or whenever we are seeking the solution for something is humility. We need to, it's important, it's helpful, it's very helpful if we humble ourselves. So for me was the recognition that the challenge that I was facing, it was something that I could not solve by myself. As much as we want to be superheroes, as much as we want to be able to proudly say from our ego side that we have all the knowledge and all the resources to solve our own problems, because perhaps we say, I have Jesus, who else do I need? Well, I'll tell you what, you need more than Jesus. You need the people who are working in Jesus' name to help you. We need to recognize that, yes, Jesus is present in our life through the people, through the science, through the resources, through the friendships, through the people who have perhaps resources that we don't have. And I find that a lot of times in religious movements, and spiritism is no different, we are our worst enemies when we cannot admit that in our humanity, that in our frailty, that in our disconnection. We need to connect with the people and with the resources that can help us. So I did that. I actually reached out to the people who I felt that could help me. I reached out to some friends who have skills that I don't have. I reached out to a therapist who and I underwent. I'm still going through a process of family constellation one-on-one with a therapist, and I have engaged myself in different courses. And since this started, I have read two books. The book Attitude by Andre Moreira, that is where most of the content of today's lecture comes from, and also Atlas of the Heart from Brene Brown. And the starting point for me was to identify some of my postures and my feelings. And with that exercise, I came up with a short list that I'll share with you right now. I'm going to be sharing the list, I'm going to be sharing the process from a place of someone who is actually in the journey. So I don't speak from a place of I know everything. I don't speak trying to tell you that what I'm doing, you should be doing, but I'm speaking from a place of a work that I'm actively engaged in and from which I'm seeing some very uh, hopeful results that I think can be helpful to many people. So my list of things, when I look at my posture and my feelings within this relationship, I came up with reactivity, high level of reactivity, hostility, aggressiveness. I was being highly critic. I was approaching the relationship from a place of incredible superiority, judgment, harshness, and some of my feelings were rage, anger, and despise. How about that for a starting point into this process? So, naturally, as I became aware of all those feelings and postures, I felt ashamed. I felt inadequate. I felt, disappointed at myself. And what came to me at the time was the story of the caveman who lives in darkness and is constantly in touch with that very foul smell that he has no idea where it comes from. And one day he's able to reach the light, and when he's under the light he realizes that his body is covered with wounds, and the smell is coming from his own wounds. And what he does when he is aware of his own state is he runs back to the darkness. So at that point I also had two choices. I could run to the darkness and pretend that none of that was there and deny my own reality, or I could seek to have a different attitude and actually seek to solve and to heal myself. So I established some goals for me, and on a philosophical realm, I would say that my goal was to dive into my own darkness to extract my own light. And on a more behavioral level, I would say I was hoping to be able to shift from what it felt to be a very instinctive and reactive reality to a more humanized and active reality. Because in spiritism, we know that we are evolving from being very instinctive, primitive beings to a more human version. In the human version, the instincts are still present, but now we are also developing reason and feelings and love, and we are able with reason and love to override the instincts. When we are reacting from a place of instinct like animals do, um, we are reacting from a place of disconnection, of fear, and of survival. So, in order to be able to shift from reacting to acting, it's important that we know ourselves. When we don't know ourselves, when we are so disconnected with all the parts um, that together make the whole that we are, then we are reacting because we don't know, we are unaware of who we truly are. So it was necessary to start this immersion process. Like the image that comes is like really diving, diving within. And the process of diving within is very costly for the ego because as we go in, it crashes many of the uh, illusions and false ideas that we have in regards to ourselves. And in this process, we get frustrated, disappointed. We will be face to face with our inner conflicts, with many of our contradictions and paradoxes. So the pressure as we go down can be and will be higher and higher. And the deeper you go, the less air you have when you think about diving. So we need to be able to dive in, seeking to have the best conditions possible. So, if we can decrease the amount of pressure and make sure that we have enough air, that we are nurtured with enough air so that we can bear the diving with more lightness, with better conditions. So when I think about the pressure as we dive in, I think about external pressure and I think about internal pressure. So external pressure, I think it comes so much from our religious upbringing and some of our cultural ideas. So there is always this incredible pressure that we have to be better than what we are. And I'm going to talk about that in details in a little bit. And there is also the inner pressure. The inner pressure is a pressure that comes primarily from our pride and from our judgment. We are our worst enemies. And what we will realize is that the harshness in which and the criticism that we use towards others is very much the way that we treat our own selves. So the combination of the external pressure that comes from outside, from all these ideas that we have that have been with us for this lifetime and God knows how many lifetimes, but as well this very, very harsh judge that we bring within ourselves make the whole process harder than it needs to be and brings a different level of suffering that does not necessarily need to be there. So I want to touch um, three points that I have reflected and that have been very, very helpful for me that will help with decreasing the pressure and again creating a better environment for this inner immersion. So the first one will feel weird to a lot of people, and some people I know will like kind of adjust themselves on their chairs because it's gonna sound very wrong and a foreign concept. But if you bear with me, I will hopefully show you that this actually works. So the first thing that I would like for you to contemplate is that the goal in life is not for us to be better. What is the problem with this statement? We have to be better. We're here to be better. Is that when you state that you need to be better, what is underneath that statement is the the certainty that you're not good enough, is the certainty that whatever you are or whoever you are, it's just not acceptable. And how is it that one can live with this idea that we are not enough, we are not good enough, you know, whatever we are, it's just not acceptable. So the first thing that we can try to think slightly different is that perhaps the idea is not that we need to be better. The idea is that we need to be present, wholeheartedly present in every single moment of our lives. And what that means is that today I embrace who I am. Today I embrace who I am with the flowers that I have already that have already blossomed within me. I accept who I am with all my limitations, with all the 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 darkness, the light, the what seems to what I like to call beautiful and ugly, and all that I have named, that I have labeled, that I have judged, all of it I accept in this moment. And I embrace who I am with love, with kindness, understanding that who I am is who God meant for me to be, the human being that I am meant to be at every single day. So when we shift from I need to be better to I embrace who I am, we start to diminish some of the anguish and some of the anxiety that we experience every day from this incredible pressure of having to be something that we're not. And that allows us to connect, to connect with all these parts of who I am. So for me, it meant a lot. For me, it meant to sit down with all those postures and all those feelings and and find some peace, which some people I know are thinking, so what? You are like accepting that is the end of it, you're not going to do anything about it. No, that's not the end of it. That's the beginning of it. And yes, I'm doing something about it. I am connecting with it. I am acknowledging it. I am embracing it. And this is the most powerful thing that we can do. Because the moment that we say, I have to be better, we're going to put a band-aid on that, or we are going to start enacting some different behavior that's going to give us an illusion that that has been solved when it has not. Now, another idea that I would like to bring to you is the idea of shifting from moral judgment. So I'm speaking here and I'm hearing my own self. I have used some labels to my own feelings. And I would like to propose a new way of addressing our feelings and our emotions. Instead of saying, this is good and this is bad, this is worthy or unworthy, what if we look at whatever feelings, sentiments that we have and say, this feeling, this emotion is either helping me to expand or is restricting myself, is either adding to who I am or is it withdrawing my strength, my force, my energy. So what is it that this emotion, how is it that this emotion is contributing to my livelihood, to my ability to love and to connect without necessarily calling it bad or good. So when I call a friend of mine, I said, I'm having these incredible, horrible feelings. And he said to me, part of the problem is your moral upbringing that makes you judge your feelings in such a harsh way. And I was like, yes, indeed. So what do I do with that, right? So just the awareness of the presence of that feeling, it's not bad, it's not good. It just is. It's saying something. It has a message. It has a meaning. It actually has a purpose. So the feeling is good in the sense that all feelings, all of them, equally, they have a purpose. They are communicating something from our inner soul that needs to be attended to. So this is a little bit of a shift in approach, because every time that we judge, what we do is we exclude. Judgment works in works to exclude. Judgment works to separate. So just think about for a second how judgmental you are towards yourself, how we are harsh, how we label, how we can quickly feel so inadequate and so shameful and so down, because we're human, because we have human feelings. And so I want to highlight to you that this approach that you have towards yourself is exactly the way you approach the world outside of yourself. So when we do not judge, we open space for whatever it is, and we open space to feel, and we also open space to heal. Brene Brown will say that as we get in touch with emotional pain, the areas of our brain that lit up when we have, for example, a burn on our skin, um, that calls our attention for that we need to care for our skin, for that wound, is exactly the same area that leads up when we have emotional pain. And what it's telling us is that we need to attend to that pain. We need to care for that pain. And no one looks at a burn and say, "You are so bad, I'm not going to take care of it," right? Because you deserve to suffer. But that's what we do with our emotional pain. We say, "You were bad," and we just put it out somewhere else, and don't leave space or room. We have no kindness that allows us to actually attend to it, take care of it. So, non judgment and acceptance are primary factors that open space for us to see what needs to be seen, to feel what needs to be felt, and to transcend. And naturally, from this attitude, expand, because the moment that we're able to embrace and to be non-judgmental with ourselves, right, without necessarily wanting to be better, just to be present and human, then we are expanding, we are getting better. And the other thing that's really important for us to do is for us to give up. We need to give up on a series of things as we go deeper and deeper within. So, what are some of the things that we should try to give up? One of them is criticism. Criticism is very toxic, and when we are stuck in criticism, there's little or no room for empathy. We need to give up on demanding of ourselves certain behaviors, certain attitudes, demanding from ourselves to give perhaps what we are not quite ready to give yet, or to produce what we are not quite ready to produce yet. We need to give up on self pity or pity, because when we feel so sorry for ourselves, we are we are keeping ourselves and others in a place of powerlessness. So when we give up on self pity or pity, we are able to focus on our own strengths and on the strengths of others. We need to give up on complaining because complaining is a comfortable place to be. It's also a place of powerlessness, of victimization. And unless we give up on complaining, we won't open space to proactively seek for solutions. It's really important that we give up on blaming because again, blaming is a place, comfortable place where we create this illusion that the problem is the other, and we steal from ourselves our best opportunities for spiritual growth, enlightenment, and healing. Again, we need to give up on moral judgment. Moral judgment has worked against us. We have excluded others, and many times as religious persons, we have placed values over humans. We have stuck to our values and push others away because of moral judgment. Comparison is a harsh one that it's difficult to give up because, according to the studies done in this particular um, action, the action of comparison, it's inherent to our humanity that we compare uh, ourselves to one another. And whether it's the psychological research or even in spiritism, we are aware that comparison is how we learn. So we compare, but we also have a choice to um, to determine how we're going to use that comparison, right? So what is really crushing about comparison is that when we compare, we comparison tells us that we need to conform ourselves to what it is, but also to be better than everything else that is. So in no way you can win because when you compare, you are in a profound position of disrespect for who you are as a unique human being, trying to conform with the whole, denying your own beauty and your own uniqueness, and but also with this incredible pressure to be better and to be more than everyone else. So it's a very disrespectful position to be, and speaks about lack of self love. Um, Denial, we need to give up on denial. So again, we can only address what we embrace. Once we deny, we don't have a chance to care for ourselves. There's no place for self-respect and self-love. And we need to give up on anything and everything that on the road we identify as not being, not adding to who we are. So we can say to ourselves at the beginning of each day, as we set our intent and use the power of our minds, I give up on judging, I give up on criticizing or on demanding from myself and from others, because who am I to say what someone else can give, right? So I give up judging. I give up criticizing, demanding. I give up hurting myself. I give up crucifying myself. And I give up denying these important parts of myself. And instead, today I choose compassion, love, inclusion, reconciliation, understanding, feeling, integration. I choose expansion and I choose life. I give myself permission to heal and to be happy. And this is very powerful and it's very liberating. And it can become a mantra, it can become um, a way that we set our minds each day. But most importantly than that, it has to correlate to this inner process. The inner process only takes place when we declutter our inner home. So I really took these three first steps of giving up on being better, of giving up judgment and labeling my feelings, and of choosing to give up on a number of things that do not add to who I am, as a process of decluttering. When you declutter your mind and your inner home and your heart and your soul, now you open space to feel. Then your soul finds a way to speak, to manifest itself. So something that I personally like to do a lot, as I go through my journeys and my inner process, is I like to write. Once in a while, stuff comes up, and I have my notebook always on my desk, and sometimes, I feel, because decluttering is happening, I open space and things come up. So I'm going to share with you something that I wrote. And sometimes I write in Portuguese, sometimes I write in English. In this process, I think I have written about four different things. But this particular one I wrote in English, and it says like this: I have been buried, and I am now trying to emerge from the dark within, following nothing more than instincts, craving the light never seen. I crawl up in a scent, tearing down my own skin, seeking inside, desperately in need to find me and only me. Pain crushing every step, blood bleeding, hope that never left, embracing life. Here go I go to a place called never return, never return. But at once, when and if I turn, I will recognize without the pain of agonize that all was all right, and it took me to where I have arrived. Blessing pain, blessing day, that I was brought to the shore, and life rocked me back and forth to make this day a holy day. So, what was happening with me, right? So, what I realized is that this very challenging relationship became a bridge that helped me to get me within myself, and that allow me to go to places that I had not chosen to kind of visit on my own, have not been able to visit on my own. And what places are that? Places of pain, places of sorrow, places of perceived lacking. So I felt like for the last 4 or 5 months, I have been walking into my own desert. And I have felt an incredible need for solitude. I have felt much less of a drive to connect outwards, because I feel profoundly engaged in this inner process. And most of my energy has been used and channeled to think, to feel, and to engage with my own self. And some of the common themes that have come up to me as I go through this process is wanting to be seen, wanting to be able to love and to be loved, feeling overwhelmed by expectations and demands from others that have been transferred to me in the course of my life, and also living fiercely to meet expectations of perfection, just to cite a few of the themes that I have got in touch with, that has to do with my inner child, that has to do with my story here in this planet and in this incarnation. Once you get in touch with your inner child, you have two options. Again, you can remain a child, and that means nurturing expectations, demanding from others, criticizing, complaining, just like as a little kid does. Or you can realize that you're now an adult, you have grown up, and you can take charge of your present moment and the future. You can make choices, you can reassign meanings, and you can take from your story the strength that you need to move forward. So there are a few postures as we come to our last 10 minutes. They're helpful once you have gone to the decluttering, once you have allowed and embraced what it is, and that means have allowed yourself to feel, then there are a few things that you can do that can be helpful. One of them is forgiveness. You can forgive yourself. You can forgive the people that have been part of your life. You can forgive your humanity. You can forgive their humanity. And when we forgive, we let go of all these unreasonable expectations that so often we have, and self forgiveness grants us this incredible freedom and also lightness. And we become better able and better prepared to forgive others and to forgive the human in them. Another posture is gratitude. To nurture gratitude. Gratitude is the ability to recognize what is full and what was possible, and to understand that today we are who we are because everything that was given to us and everything that was not given to us, we are the result of our story. And so when I think of gratitude, and I've been meditating about what life has given me and what life has not given me, it comes to me the story of the two trees that grow up in separate terrains divided by a wall in neighbor homes. In one home, the owner of the house was a very, very attentive gardener and attended to every single need of that tree with incredible love. The other gardener was a good gardener too, but not as dedicated and sometimes a little distracted. And so the tree did not get necessarily everything that it needed at all times until the day that a big storm comes. And the tree that had been attended consistently and constantly without ever lacking anything broke very easily. And the other tree had some branches broken, but actually was able to withstand the storm because its roots were deeper. Because that tree was not given everything, it had to reach further down, reach further in to seek and to find the nourishment that it needed to survive. So each one of us has a little bit of that, and the things that have we have lacked in our lives have strengthened us, have given us power, strength, creativity, force to be who we are. So gratitude is to embrace life as life has been given to us, um, is to recognize that everything, and from a spiritual perspective, even more so, as we know that we have chosen the life that we had. The life that we have had so far has been the perfect life that we needed for our stage of evolution, for our redemption, for our healing. We were given everything that exactly the way that we needed. So gratitude focus on the full and takes the force of everything as it has been to move forward and to make different choices. The choice to love, the choice to pass on all the life and all the beauty that we have gathered thus far. And last but not least, patience. And this is a key one. So, patience is the science of peace. So, we need to make peace. It's helpful if we can make peace with our own self, to make peace with us as we are, with life as life is, with the reality as the reality is. Patience is powerful because patience respects time. Patience soothes anxiety. Patience understands that it's not because you're overwatering a plant that the plant is going to bloom before its time. In fact, if we overwater a plant, the plant might die, it might drown. So, patience recognizes that you, me, all of us, we also nature. We have our own seasons. There is a time for everything under heaven. There is a time to mourn. There is a time to cry. There is a time to feel. There is a time to love, to embrace. There's a time to wait. But patience calls for a profound respect of our own seasons, of our own timing. And patience recognizes that we should use reality as our partner to our becoming as opposed to fight reality. We are not here to fight reality. We are here to use reality as our as an instrument that can help us to move forward in this process of expansions. So as I become more patient towards myself, I become also patient towards others. And I don't know if you hear what I feel. I say all this to all of you with a tremendous amount of feeling in my heart. And to me, this is Easter. This is to bring the process, the message of Jesus to our daily lives. We talk in our lectures so often about the passage of the adulterous woman. Jesus looks at that woman and he says, "Woman, where are all the people who were accusing you?" "Lord, they are gone." So listen to me. I too do not judge you. And we say that so often when we are talking about our judgment towards others without understanding and recognizing the harsh judge that we are with our own selves. And as I speak to you about all those things and feel every single word that I am telling you, I am going to say and share with you that I can visualize, and forgive my emotion, some cracks happening into the stiffness of my own defenses. I see the light, and I can assure you that I am a better human being today as a natural outcome of simply being present, embracing, acknowledging, and making peace with the human that I am. So, with that, I close my reflection for today, and I will bring Claudinha back in so she can rescue me from my
Hi,
emotions.
Susanna, I love you. I love you, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you for thank you for this beautiful lecture. You brought us a lot of things to think about. Yeah, radical. That's another concept that I like very much in Buddhism, which is radical acceptance. That's really what you talked about. It's really simply accepting, because we tend to, as you said in your lecture, like we tend to, okay, so we accept it, so and now that's it. No, so in acceptance is the root of transformation. Acceptance is we cannot change the process, and fighting the process for not accepting who we really are and what we really have is definitely not the way of moving towards who we want to be. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very touched. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for putting yourself out there and actually showing a great example of how, like in your own process, how it's really like when we look at a cross, when we look at the cross, the way to look at the cross, you can actually see the suffering of Jesus, right? As Jesus, like the material body of Jesus, and actually he was in physical pain. And sometimes our tendency is really looking at that, and it's like, when focus on what's wrong with this picture here. Well, there's a lot of pain, and it's a terrible thing. Yes, it is terrible, but what comes next? So it's not
Right.
right. It's really the focus of, like, as you said, it's like the only way out is within. So it's really being present and really understanding, not seeking suffering or pain, but our experience, right, in this planet as imperfect spirits. That's part of like who we are. But that's really what's going to bring us eventually on its own time to become the angelic beings that we want to. That's our destination, eventual destination. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to give a second lecture here on top of yours. It's just for me to process my own emotions. So yeah, thank you. So we're gonna close it. Would you like to give the final prayer, or you want me to do it? What do you want to do, Sue?
I'll do it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so
I'll
much.
do it.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
that's fine.
Mhm.
You're welcome. All right. So, dear Father, at the end of our meeting today, we would like to express our gratitude for all that is, for our lives, as we celebrate this beautiful day with so much meaning. We would like to thank our Lord for the gift of His life, of His message, and ask Him to continue to guide us and to give us the strength in the times that we lack and the light in the times that we are unable to see, the courage to press forward with gentleness and kindness towards ourselves and towards others. Continue to be the inspiration and help us to be with you more and more each day. Bless this humanity so that the values of love and immortality can permeate our society each day more and more and inspire us to be messengers of these concepts in our own living. We thank you for all that you are and all that has been given to us. We thank you for our lives. We thank you for this day. And we ask you to continue to be with us, blessing our homes, our families, this entire world, and allowing us to be here again next Sunday throughout our meetings, gathering from this time of connection, the nourishment that we need so much to continue on. Thank you again, and so be it.
So be it. All right. So thank you so much, everyone who attended this beautiful lecture, and we'll see you all next Sunday. Bye-bye.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.